I'm leaving this in. People think Andrew normally wears pants when he's talking to us. Nah, he doesn't.
I think those are his golf shorts.
Are you taking the Mickey?
We did a little.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the common room. As you can see, we have already got going. Andrew has his best shorts on. He's shown us some of his legs, so I think it's time that we really get down to business. Gentlemen.
That is business.
So, in exciting podcast news, we have now passed our 300th episode, which just kind of breaks my brain. I remember when we had 3.
Wow.
Hey, David, have we passed to like the married couple stage of dying to the honeymoon phase in like
That was episode 4.
Wait, we had a honeymoon phase?
I faked it for 1, 2, and 3.
Wow. Bitter.
oh
No,
Until
not
I
bitter.
got here, of course.
Oh, and then it all became wonderful. Exactly. But you guys have been busy with a Severe Mercy Month, so I haven't spoken to you guys in a while. How do you think it's going?
I think it's going well.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going well, but this one we're about to record after this, episode 3, the amount of quotes, the amount of like just wisdom that is in this last third of the book is absolutely insane. In the last chapter, honestly, I could have just read the last chapter and we could have just let it speak for itself. I mean, he really, I think that's probably why I loved it so much the first time, is because all of a sudden you get the last chapter and it just like smacks you. And there's so much wisdom of him reflecting on his life and his journey and his learning. So I cannot wait for our listeners to hear it. I'm assuming his Common Room's coming out before the 3rd episode is released. So
Yeah.
I have my Davies edition.
Very nice.
I showed people on the microphone last time, but I'm sure that they heard it. But so there's Davy and Van, and there's some other pictures of Davy and Glenn Merle and Van and Davy up on the rigging and Davy and Van. So you don't get all these pictures in the paperback. And there's one of her famous paintings. There she is, I think, in Hawaii. Let's see. Here's a letter from Lewis. And then
How hard is that edition to get hold of?
$40, something like that. Not too hard. I've seen it for, I swiped it for $40. I've seen it for $75, $80. And then there's the Sin painting. Oh, and
I was just about to ask you to show that.
Yeah. Here's the Shining Barrier.
the green tree that they're protecting.
Yes, there it is. And then the Sin picture. There we go.
It's like Salvador Dali.
Yeah.
It just needs a drooping clock and you've got him.
Salvador Davy. So, yeah, if you can find it, it's worth it. Adds to the experience. And then the chime is these Eastern prayer bells.
It is a pretty incredible chime.
Yeah. So there they are. Yeah. So what else, fellas?
Well, I thought that we should hand today's episode over to you because you've had a lot of changes in your life. And so I thought we would call this episode, What's New, Drew?
What's new is you can't see in the camera the boxes, the boxes that are on the floor and boxes everywhere. And Kristen's one of those who wants to be out of all of the boxes within the first week or two.
Sensible woman. I'm
yes,
exactly the same.
We have surpassed that, but downstairs we're assembling a piece of furniture which will allow us to unpack the kitchen. So there's, lots of muscle aches and all the rest. It's just the transition of moving. And tomorrow, let's see, the Florida DMV was amazing. We got our licenses in about 20 minutes.
Nice. Wisconsin's the same. After California, it's so weird. You go in there, you hand in the form, they give you the stuff, you're done.
Yeah. I think it probably took an hour and a half total, including driving. making appointments, everything to get our actual physical licenses in hand. The actual experience was super easy. And so we're going tomorrow to get our new insurance kicks in. So we're going to go get our license plate. And I think my Florida plate will say for Aslan. It's been for Narnia. And so I'll probably take off those plates. Maybe we should auction off those plates to the, so I'll get our new plates tomorrow. And so lots of transitions. A week from today, I'll start my new job as an apprentice rector, and eventually an assistant priest at Church of the Messiah in Winter Garden, Florida, which is about, half an hour from Disney. So
does that mean
sounds like a Mickey Mouse post to me?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Does it mean I'll have a place to crash so I can come to Disney World?
As a matter of fact, right next door to me, right over here, we have Spare and in Spare it's our Narnia room. So I've got all my Lewis First editions, all of our different sets of Narnia, all my different editions of Till We Have Faces, I've got half a shelf just for Patty Callahan. And we've got all of my Tolkien and all of the Tolkien little figurines and my eagle and my second chapter of Acts, Roar of Love LP. We've got a little lamppost. So we got it. The Bandersnatch picture of all of the Inklings. I have framed, and that's over the printer. And we have a queen mattress, an inflatable queen mattress, in the bed, very comfortable, highly recommended. And so, yeah, we have a spare that
you might have to pat guests down before they leave, just to make sure that all of the books and trinkets are still there.
You mean as if there's not a wired security system that would go off? If a book crosses the threshold of the door of the room, the alarms go off. So I had an interesting online conversation with folks. I said, should I arrange my first editions chronologically according to publication date or composition date? So, for example, where do I put Boxen? Do I put Boxen in the 80s, 1980s, 1990s when it came out? Or do I put Boxen absolutely first because that was the first? So I don't know. What do you guys think I should do with my first? Besides give them all to you.
Matt, what do you reckon?
I don't even know what Boxen is.
Lewis and Warney had two different kind of imaginary lands that they created as kids. And so Warney's was called India because he was fascinated by, shockingly, India and loved boats and ships. And Jack's was called Animal Land. And so he had these dressed animals. So the ruler of that country was the Lord Big, who's a frog in a waistcoat. And, so but together, Animal Land and India formed a land called Boxen. And they wrote an Encyclopedia Boxonia. And Lewis also refers to, in Surprised by Joy, burying all of their toys, some of which appeared as characters in Boxen, in Little Lee in the garden. And he gives fairly specific directions about where it was. And so I've thought about showing up at Little Lee in Northern Ireland with a shovel. I don't know if that would be very well
Probably
received.
wouldn't end well. No. I think I would say probably publication, because I would expect all of his unpublished works at the end of my shelf.
Yeah.
And
So that means I should put Early Prose Joy in 2013, not in 1930.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
I probably would have put them. How would I have done it? Knowing me, I would have grouped them by topic.
Color?
I might have factored in, but no, I would have been like, I would have obviously kept like the series, why the series and stuff, but I'd have like nonfiction in one area, I'd have fiction in the other area, his poetry. So I would probably go that way. I wouldn't actually think about the date, but that's just me. And I'd be like, all right, I want to go find one of his nonfiction books. Okay, we've got Miracles, we've got Mere Christianity, and just pull that out, Four Loves. That's how I'd do it, actually.
Well, if you or listeners would like some help arranging them in Matt's very bizarre and illogical, unhelpful way, I have in the back of Mere Christians a list of Lewis's books categorically arranged. And so, and they can download that on my website, mythoflove.com or mythoflove.net for free. It's just one of the resources I've made available. So if you want to arrange, by those categories.
Like a wise man.
What I was very tempted to say was to quote the movie and the book High Fidelity.
Yes.
When he's arranging them, it's like, how are you grouping them? Genre? Chronologically? He says, no, autobiographically.
Yes. He does.
So in order to find the books, you need to know when you bought it.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
I've done my Lewis shelf. These are my Lewis readers copies right there. So I've done those alphabetically, just so I can get to them. And there you see some of the boxes. Laza's boxing. But for the first editions, I've done them in chronological order because sometimes I refer to them when I'm doing research. I want to know what the first actually had to say. Sometimes there are some differences. So that's just it. I'm thinking about what starting this new job looks like.
And what does that look like?
Well, I have no idea.
I'm a little curious real quick, Andrew. I don't know if this is opening up way too big of a can of worms. So
sure.
You only answered if you can do it in a few minutes, but what has been your journey to...
We'll go on to the next question.
Yeah, you're right.
Have we not met?
Well, I realize this is about to be a massive question, but I'm not sure listeners have ever heard, like, what's your journey to becoming an Episcopal priest? Like, your Christianity, what denominations have you been in? If it's always been Episcopalian, and what somewhat led you to this? All of them. What were things that really drew you to this one? You don't need to necessarily ding other ones per se, but like, what was it about this, and then ultimately feeling this call to the priesthood?
Yeah. So the first or second part of that, whichever it is that's my call narrative story. And we get to the point in seminary and spiritual autobiographies and all the rest where I can tell that fairly quickly. I went at one point to the Moody Bible Institute to become a missionary, and then I met real life missionaries, and I'm like, oh, one of these things is not like the others. They clearly had a call that I did not have. So I just wanted to be a good churchman for an informed parishioner. I'm an Episcobapticostitarian. So I was baptized by my Cuban father, not by him, but at his behest into the Catholic Church. Never remember going to church. I think I maybe went to church once or twice in my youth. Became a Christian at 14, started going to my friend Wendy Einer's father's Baptist church, Pioneer Baptist, which is now still thriving. My best friend goes there. Baptist church led me to really learn about the Bible. And while I was at the Moody Bible Institute, I went to Jesus People USA, which is a Christian commune, like 500 people. And they have they would have a rock festival, and the lead pastor was the lead guitar player in a Christian hard rock band, Resurrection Band or Res Band. Wonderful church. And that was kind of an Assembly of God, charismatic. So I kind of got some of that. Became a Presbyterian in Nashville, Tennessee at Christ Community Church. Half of my record collection from all the Christian music I'd collected, half of my collection was sitting in the pews every Sunday. So Amy Grant did our Christmas music. Michael Card led a Bible study, and that's where I met Phil Kagi.
That's pretty sweet. Amy Grant's phenomenal.
Gosh. It was incredible. It was incredible. The music, the quality of music. So it was Lewis that kind of led me to the Episcopal Church. I loved the Anglican tradition. Even reading Severe Mercy had a bit to do with that, and seeing their conversion. Robert Weber's Evangelicals on the Canterbury Trail was a piece of that. And then about 20 years ago, my church really went through an upheaval with some issues about, homosexuality and
the Presbyterian one you're talking about still?
No, I became an Episcopalian.
Okay, at that point. Okay.
So I moved from Nashville back home to California to Sacramento. And because of Lewis, had been really drawn to the Episcopal Church, to the Anglican tradition. And so my parish church was the cathedral in downtown Sacramento. And so I walked to church every Sunday. They're little ladies who did the greeting ministry. You fill out a visitor card. A couple weeks later, a couple ladies from the visiting ministry would show up at your house to, just say hello and drop off a pie as part of, their hospitality. So I joined that church 3 times. The last one, I'm like, BlackBerry, please. No, it's not true. But it was once I got to the Episcopal Church, it kind of felt like home. With some of the controversy in my church about some of these issues, I felt some disaffection. I felt, I wondered if I could stay. I explored the Catholic Church. I know that this is not a sufficient answer. I tried to get there and read a bunch of stuff. I know that Michael Ward will be disappointed in this answer. Holly Ordway would be disappointed in this answer. Both of you and our Catholic listeners. I know that there can't be a sufficient answer for why I didn't make it. And I acknowledge that, but it really opened my eyes to a love of the Catholic Church and the liturgical tradition and the saints and the Blessed Virgin and all of that stuff. But I read a bunch of books. I read my Scott Hahn and talked with Catholic friends, lots of them. Read Thomas Howard, Lead Kindly Light, and a bunch of that stuff, and was firmly opened up to an embrace of the Catholic Church, but couldn't quite get there. And I remember talking to an Episcopal priest friend, and he said, "You know what, Andrew? God knows how to shout." And so then I spent a summer doing some work for Max McLean in New York City, and went to All Angels on the Upper West Side, which is an Episcopal church. And it just immediately felt like home. And so I said, okay, this is as close as I'm going to get. It's still part of the apostolic tradition. I felt like staying here. So it was a couple of years later that a friend of mine, an Episcopal priest friend of mine, said that he would hire me as a teaching pastor in a heartbeat. I said, what do I got to do to do that? And he said, well, you have to get ordained. So
I really wanted it to be Homer Simpson's answer. It's like, so what do I have to do? Wail on some Unitarians?
Yeah. Actually, that was part of my tradition. My mother took us to Unitarian church a few times growing up.
Oh, right.
I was nonplussed. The Diocese of Texas, the Episcopal Diocese of Texas, has a Discovery Weekend, which is kind of an explore what vocation looks like. And they paraded all kinds of, bivocational priests, deacons, lay ministers. And I really kind of felt convicted that priesthood was the way to go. When I told my Bishop Andy Doyle, that I was thinking about going to this weekend, he said, well, it's about time, don't you think? So he had invited me to talk about Narnia to the clergy conference in the diocese. And I said, how do you talk to a bunch of priests? He said, well, just do what you normally do at a Lewis talk, except swear more. I said, I have found my people. So
have I ever heard you swear? I don't think I have.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe as a respected Bigelow.
I need to make my way. I need to make my way down to Florida.
Yes, you do.
A couple scotches and it'll come out.
Absolutely.
Suggest that Narnia should be read in chronological order. See what happens.
I just had that conversation with my brother-in-law yesterday. But the discernment process, the vocational process, once I expressed that to folks, Kristen said, look, you love talking with kids who just broke up with their girlfriend, or sitting in the stands with parents and, discussing their kid. You don't really love, talking about dangling modifiers and grading papers. And she and everybody else in my life had almost an immediate reaction of, oh yeah, that sounds like you. Even my aunt, who's not a believer, said, oh yeah, I've always thought of you as a minister. And so there was enough resonance, and then the process happened fairly quickly. So from the Discovery Weekend, to seminary was about a year and a half. So I went through the diocesan process and the local parochial process. And so now, having finished up seminary a month and a half or so from Saturday, on the 25th of June, I'll be ordained a deacon in the Episcopal Church. And about 6 months later, God willing, I'll become a priest. And hopefully by then I'll finish my Northwind degree. Well,
that's really good timing, because we'll be starting season 6 in December. So we'll be able to start with Advent, a sense of preparation and anticipation for both Christmas and you becoming finally becoming a doctor, now that your wife has been one for ages.
Right? She surpasses me in many ways, but you know what, David, you and I both know about marrying way up.
Yeah.
That'll be good. I'm hoping maybe it'll happen on the Feast of Epiphany. The rubrics are the canons are 6 months after ordination to the priesthood. So 6 months to the diaconate. And so 6 months is Christmas, but I don't think the bishop wants to come out on Christmas.
But that would be really funny if today we celebrate the arrival of the 3 wise men. They couldn't be here today, but instead
Andrew.
We have their opposites here. Here's what a fool looks like. All of this, and starting my job, next week. And a lot of that is question marks. It's going to be interesting. I imagine that some of it will be hospital visits and, there's work to do around the church. My job is to enliven some current ministries and to start new ones as appropriate. And I've got, thanks to my rector, just real wide freedom to continue speaking. When I told him about Oxbridge, I'm going to become your deacon. And then 3 weeks later, I'm going to go to England for 3.5 weeks. There's like, cool. Just bring back all the good stuff. So it's a lot of question mark about what that's going to look like. My priest has raised up a number of rectors, and that's kind of where his passion is to have apprentices and to teach them priestcraft. He's been at this church for 25 years as a priest, which is pretty unusual. So, but it's got me thinking about transitions. And
you did, by the way, you did a phenomenal job keeping that under 3 minutes.
Under 30 minutes. You have no idea the editing and the detail that I've left out of all of that. But I want to think about transition. You both have had some transitions in the last couple of years. Having a kid, moving, I know, Matt, you did some significant traveling, and I want to just think about out loud, just hear your thoughts about what are the blessings, what are the dangers of transitions, how do you handle them, what it reveals about you, how do I be deliberate, how are we deliberate about what's coming next? And just kind of wanted to toss that out to you both.
Well, I have many thoughts.
Really?
As someone that's had a lot of transitions.
Keep it under 3 minutes, David.
Yeah.
Time me. Watch this. I've changed countries. I've changed jobs. Married, kid. So I've had a lot of transitions. And when I first came to the States, the thing I'd often say to people is, when you change a lot of things in your life, you get to see what is unchanging, what is eternal, when everything is changing around you. And years before, I'd watched a documentary on Buddhist monks, and some of them take a kind of pilgrimage where they try and keep moving the entire time. And it's with that idea that with everything changing around them, they would get to see past it to the things that were eternal. And definitely through all of my changes, it's always highlighted what is core, what is essential, and what is eternal. And the other thing that I would say about all of those changes, it reminds me of the gate liturgies at the temple, and you have them also in liturgical churches. Very often things happen at doorways. That's where things often happen. Mm-hmm. And about how those can be really powerful moments of personal development and renewal. To put it in secular terms, it's the time when you can reimagine yourself, invent a new self. When someone's going from middle school to high school, well, that's often a time when people will very be very deliberate about some of their life choices, considering what sort of person that they want to be. And at each of those transitions in my life, I've seen that I've got a decision to make. As I'm going to university, am I going to continue practicing my faith? As I move to the States, what is life now going to look like? Because I've got a completely blank slate. What are my interests? So many of them are up for grabs. When I'm getting married, when I'm having a child, what kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of father do I want to be? What kinds of things am I going to set up for this new era in my life? Under 3 minutes.
That's good. Yeah.
Well done. I think it was 2. Honestly, I would have echoed a lot of that, so I would take a little bit of a sub point. As somebody who's also experienced the transitions from like with my year abroad to San Diego to New York to back to here, transitions reveal, I think, 2 things. One, they can reveal your idols, and it can be very easy in a space. I'm the king of routine, so I'm not trying to bash routine. I think routine is a beautiful thing, but I think routine can become an idol. And there's a power to a routine when it's used for the right ends, and there's a negative to routine when it becomes like the thing that creates your sanity, the thing that creates your peace. It's like God is your home. Routine's not your home. And so I have witnessed when my life is in transition, my routine gets broken, and I see how much I can sometimes become dependent on that, rigid on that. And that can prevent me. And the danger is when I don't really see how much it's preventing me from loving other people properly. I mean, I can get so caught up in my routine. It's about like preserving my sanity to get what I think needs to be done on my time. And it's like God is appending that. And so I think there's a really beauty in the idol side of things, of revealing that. But now to kind of promote a little bit routine, I also think it reveals an importance of finding home when you get to a new place. So when you get into a transition, I also recognize one of the first things I got to do is like find that church community, because that's just super important. So when I have been in transition, I'm more speaking to geographical transitions in this case, but it's always been very critical. If I go to a new place and I don't have an intentionality in like resetting up my life, it's a danger as well. And I can get caught in that limbo almost. And I don't think you want to be like caught in it per se, unless it's God's intention. But yeah, those would be the 2 comments I'd have to say, I guess, around that. But my first one would have been David's. I think that's a very important thing too.
Yeah. I think Kristen's struggling. I think we're both struggling because she's got her office pretty well set up, and she's got some writing to do. It was very interesting to kind of pick which Lewis pictures to put where and when and how, and there's some more on the wall. And there's the one that you all gave me, which was one of the first ones to go up, and kind of sorting out the world. I'm not a routine guy. I like remaking decisions again and again. Drives Kristen mad.
Sounds terrible.
Oh yeah.
It's I
know. And I married somebody for whom that's one of the sacrifices that she makes in loving me. And so we're trying to get to a place where, do we know what the space is going to look like? Can we, it's been a liminal time. It's been an uncertain time. And then some of that is kind of I'm holding my breath. I don't know what the new job is going to look like. I don't know what the hours are going to be exactly. I get to decide what my day off is. I asked my rector if it would be okay if I took Sundays off, and he was nonplussed with that idea. He said, "I'm not sure that you may need another couple of years of seminary."
It's the Lord's day, not yours.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am a child of the Lord. And so yeah, there's this, I love what you said, Matt. And you too, David, to kind of lean on what's unchanging and the revelation of idols. The whole move has been chaotic because we've been packing up for over a month, living out of suitcases and all the rest. And I found myself getting really irritated really easily. And tones of voice, that whole thing. It's like, oh my gosh. And Kristen and I have kind of found in the middle of that, this, they say in recovery, how important is it? So these kind of moments of, okay, I'm just bugged, but I'm bugged because it's just irritating. This is a difficult thing, and we have learned how to let things go, I think, in a way. There's a whole gear. You're nodding, David. Tell me.
Oh, yes. Oh, I would say that's the chief skill in marriage. Communication is right up there, but I'd say first and foremost, it's just learning to let stuff go. Mm-hmm. You have joined yourself to another person who is not you. Therefore, they have different ideas, different expectations, different lots of things, no matter how weird they are. And sometimes you just go, that's weird, that's stupid, I wouldn't do it like that, but fine.
Aren't you superior, David?
No, I'm just saying that's weird and that's different.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, that's, I think, a gift of this kind of chaos is, I realize again and again just how much of a treasure she is and how much I love her. But I don't treat her like that for much of the day. And so there's lots of, hey, I was being a jerk, or hey, you were being a jerk, but it doesn't matter that much. And let's see what we can do to let that go.
The final thing I would maybe say about transitions is they are an opportunity for God and for Satan. Mm-hmm. It's been, and I think the difference is what you make of it, how you look at it, how you view it, how much you turn to God, how much you depend on him. Yeah. There's been times where I've struggled in transitions, and I'll go to priests, I'll go to confessions, and they'll literally ask me, what kind of season in life are you? I'll be like, oh, I just moved from here. Okay. All right. And then they'll give me very different advice. And it's like, here, this is a window of opportunity for Satan to enter in and to try to pull you away in certain ways.
Yeah. It's also an move.
Yeah. It's also an opportunity for you to develop a deeper intimacy with God as your centeredness, as everything else is in chaoticness. And so it's an opportunity. And I think if you look at it that way, an attempt to look at it as a chance to grow closer to God and really stay vigilant about preventing Satan, I think that's a way to approach it.
Yeah. David?
I was just thinking of Lewis's line where he speaks about getting up each morning and beating back all of the things that rush upon you.
That is why the real problem of the Christian life comes not where you usually look for it. It comes the very moment you get up every day, and your first job is to, and all the day with its wild hopes and expectations all the day with its hopes and rush at you like wild animals. And the first job every day consists in simply pushing them back, right? Letting that other, larger, stronger, quieter life come flowing in. And then he says, and that's the challenging bit, and so on all day, right? To keep turning away from the wind of the chaos and keep turning to, So, well, and I'm also realizing that, Screwtape's working overtime, especially because I'm about to enter into ordained ministry and church ministry. I mean, I went to the men's dinner on Tuesday night. It's like the cure of souls, these souls, depends on me. Like, my job is to care for these people in a spiritual way. It's like, they got the wrong guy. I feel very inadequate to it, but
Jesus did great things with fishermen. So, teacher can probably do a thing or two.
Yeah.
Well, we are over half an hour, so I'm going to pull this one to a close. And since we're talking about habits, I have recently got a Peloton. So if anybody wants to friend me on Peloton, my username is my full name, David Lewis Bates. Come find me, race with me, send me horrible workouts, because I'm just doing all of that to Matt. If I do a workout that really destroys me, first thing I do as soon as I'm off that bike is to send it to Matt and tell him to do it.
I need to do one. The problem is I'm now done with that huge work project as of Tuesday officially, and so I've been like, I know. And it's also nice weather, so I'm now more into, since I have a little bit more time, I'm not doing quick 15-minute Peloton workouts. I'm going for like 30, 45-minute runs in the nice weather. So I haven't Peloton for a couple of weeks now. I need to get back on it. Ooh.
Well, I'll close with this kind of word of wisdom I pulled from recovery. They would often say, it's progress, not perfection. And then somebody put a spin on that. It's perfection. And says, it's process, not outcome. Because even
that
if
is
that's
so
outcomes,
true.
Yeah. So it's still part of another process. So, and thankfully,
Mother Teresa said, faithfulness, not success.
There you go. Good. Well, it's great catching up with you. Sorry I missed last time. I missed you all, but it seems like the chaos is starting to, there's no chaos at this level. It's only on the ground level with the boxes there. But we're getting that taken care of. So
Wonderful.
Well,
Gentlemen.
pleasure, gentlemen.
Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers. I think it's the look that gets me even more.